حي على الفلاح.
Why does it hurt so bad? You know, when someone is gone through a boyfriend, a girlfriend, obviously like I said, which is haram, but then once it's finished, why does it hurt so bad? And what's amazing is there's no physical damage. You don't see nothing, no harm, no scratches, no cuts, anything. So you can't pinpoint an exact, but somewhere in this region, is this pain, severe pain, and you can't heal it. No first aid kit. So why does it hurt so bad? You know, the movies we watch and the TV programs, you know, they have an ending. And usually when they end it, is at the good parts, you know, when they're reunited with the person, they leave it at a good height. So we're constantly being bombarded with this, you know, happy ending and, you know, the two lovers coming back together, which builds up a fantasy on our side.
From when we're born and throughout life, we have this void, this emptiness in our heart that we're trying to fulfill. Some people do it through drugs, some people do it through money, some people do it through the opposite gender. Usually, majority of the time, we try to fulfill this void through the opposite gender. And we think that once we're going to find this perfect girl, perfect guy, this person is going to make us happy. This person is going to complete us. But when you actually fall into this relationship, you find that the person wasn't able to fulfill the needs that you required of them. The person began to let you down. The person, you know, began to do things that you didn't expect them to do. And ultimately, because you have such high expectations for this person, any small thing they do is going to ultimately hurt you. The expectations of this void in the heart that you're trying to fulfill, this emptiness in the heart, is too great to be fulfilled by a mere human being. Now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put this emptiness there to navigate you towards Him subhanahu wa ta'ala. And know that all of these things will cease to remain because the dunya is temporary. That means you're destined to depression, sadness and unhappiness.
And it's quite sad that as Muslims we need to begin to discuss such topics which possibly are of interest for some individuals, but unfortunately has possibly become a disease in the Muslim Ummah. Some people want to spread fawahish, illicit conduct and behavior inside society amongst the believers, who are beginning to question the authenticity of Islam, its role in Western Hemisphere. Whatever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes halal or haram, there's great benefit in that. For example, if a person travels for education, walking upon their legs, taking any form of transport, that's perfectly acceptable. Now another individual makes the same journey but goes to a location whereby the person may indulge in haram, in sin or vice. That individual's journey now becomes haram. So Islam will clamp down right on the beginning of the journey that this person is not allowed to take that journey. Man has a covetous love for women. So Islam channels this feeling to a matrimonial relationship, is what the Quran begins to highlight. Seeing the nature of the human being, thus it begins to channel the human being in that correct form of expressing oneself. So that's the only way that one channels their khariza, their lust and their desires, is through wedlock. You go out of that fold, then you become the transgressors. So what is the beginning? The glance. Looking at somebody from the opposite individual. The second step that we find after the glance is speech. Because it's become a common relaxation, a common norm of the land, of the people, of Muslims, that there's no harm in being flamboyant. There's no harm in walking in a crowd of brothers and just shouting out and just laughing and joking. There's no harm for a brother to likewise to walk through the sisters and start shouting and joking. Don't be deceptive inside your speech. Don't allure your speech. If you speak, speak rough and harsh. And say words which are correct and straightforward. Straight to the point. That's how the advice has been given to the wives of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. How many times have we heard that? Well, I didn't really mean it in that way. But remember, shaitan is ready to grasp those words and play them around. That even when the mashayikh come, sisters running after them, calling them out, behaving like this. Is that the way? Where's your sense of haya gone? Where's your sense of modesty gone? Don't take Islam as a joke, as a game. Then comes the third stage, free mixing or being alone. Intimate conversation leads to intimacy and being alone. A man and woman all on their own, the third individual is the shaitan. You lose your honor and your dignity, there's no respect for you. And then comes the fourth concept. After the glance, after the speech, after being intimate, you find relationship. Many people, they highlight, well, Shaykh, give it to me from the Quran about girlfriends and boyfriends. Go and look at Surah Al-Ma'idah, the 5th chapter, verse number 5. وَلَا مُتَّخِذِي أَخْدَانِ. What do you find at the moment? Common practice, trying to teach that this is a norm of life. That even being Islamic, what do you find? I'm finding my own partner, Shaykh. So what's been happening in that journey of finding your partner? The glance, the speech, intimacy, conversation, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forbid anything else could have been happening. How do we know? That's what the Quran talks about. Good men are for good women. Good women are for good men. Bad men are for bad women. The way you conduct yourself in your life is the way you'll meet your partner. You find your partners on the streets, then you live your life on the streets. There'll be no barakah, there'll be no blessing. And all these new concepts of I'm a woman in my own right, and these new marriage contracts that you're finding at the moment, no evidence in the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We admit there's mistakes in our society. We admit there's oppression. We admit there's wrong things that fathers are doing, brothers are doing, uncles are doing, imams are doing. The solution is not to throw away the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and say women can do whatever they want to do. Very strange. Ya Shaykh, what's wrong with having sisters and brothers in the same dawra shari'iyah and studying together? This type of studying will create competition and create achievements between ourselves. How can you be studying tafsir and hadith and sitting side by women who are strange to you? Doesn't make sense to me. Ask any individual who studied from a classical source. You never hear of such things. But what type of preachers do we find at the moment? Boy, live on stage, laughing, joking, clapping, shouting, screaming. And those same individuals come out of great big institutes of learning. I wonder what their mashayikh would say about them. Is this what you learned from us? Even the non-Muslims have concluded that the free mixing of individuals creates corruption. Boys will excel in all boys' school, girls will excel in all girls' schools. The results are clear, visible. These circles and these agendas that you find of people sitting there, laughing, joking. That's what we do. We marvel at the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We marvel at it. We marvel at a hadith. You don't weep, you don't cry, you just laugh about it. وَأَنْتُمْ سَامِدُونَ. Enjoyment, clapping, whistling, entertaining yourselves. That's the state of the Muslim Ummah. We're just a bunch of entertainers. Full stop. And then unfortunately comes the final stage. The stage of which by the limbs will testify to that quest, to that desire of committing a zina. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect all of us. And as you find in the hadith, look at the words of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Zina of the eyes is the glance. The zina of the tongue is the speech. The zina of the hands is the touching. The zina of the legs is the walking. And then the private parts testify if that was the actual individual by doing the major action. Look at the prophecy, look at the statements, the type of words that the Prophet Muhammad used to highlight to us. And this is, as Ibn Qayyim al-Jawziyah highlights, the famous student of Shaykh Islam Ibn Taymiyyah, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's mercy be upon both of them, that this is a sin that destroys you both in this dunya and in the akhirah. In the pattern of major sins you find, teaching the Muslim Ummah, don't come to any form of fawahish, what is apparent or what is hidden. And then comes the most clearest ayah that you find, وَلَا تَقْرَبُوا الزِّنَا إِنَّهُ كَانَ فَاحِشَةً وَسَاءَ سَبِيلًا. Don't even go near zina. And so that begins, as we mentioned, by the glance, the speech, conversations, intimacy, relationship, and then you find this final evil action that you find that the person should stay away from at all any expense. And thus you find that this leads to what? Amongst the signs of their judgment, that sexual misconduct will become, promiscuity will become common, lewdness will become common in society. STD, aborted children, broken down families, destruction of one's family, lineage. Those 5 principles that we talk about, you've destroyed them. And then you find that it will come a people from our own ummah, make this action to be lawful and make the wearing of silk and ma'azif and musical instruments, etc. to be halal. And then the sad thing is that, ya ikhwan, is that some individuals boast about their actions. Because once you lose that shame, then you've lost your iman. And thus we should begin to understand about our children, about our environment, how to preserve our society, how to preserve the people around us, and to teach them the concept of chastity, of lowering the gaze, lowering the speech, to stay away of anything that could lead to vice and sin. Barakallahu feekum. وأقول قولي هذا وأستغفر لي ولكم ولجميع المسلمين فاستغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. بارك الله فيكم.